Hey y'all, it's your girl Juliet. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome. Today's video is a houseplants tour of my main living areas in my home. I just wanted to bring y'all in so that you can get a little glimpse of the composition of plants that I have in my home and how they're doing thus far. So let's just begin here at my front door. To the right, I have a whole bunch of things on this big wall, including plants. So starting at this desk over here. So the first plant I have at my table is the ZZ plant, and I love this plant. It gives me no trouble whatsoever. I noticed that a lot of its activity happens during the winter season or the colder seasons, and I'm just starting to get this new shoot here, and it's so cute. I'm just hoping to get bigger stems growing out this winter season or this cold season, and hopefully that'll help fill out my pot a little bit, or this plant in general. But I love it. It's so nice. It's so pretty. I'm in love with the texture of the leaves, and just, you know, the structural look of the plant itself. The next plant I have here is my plant, my Pothos Artois. It's a marble queen pothos, and it's growing very nicely. I filled in the pot with cuttings of itself not long ago, within the last 6 months, or just before that, actually, before my pause. But it's growing very nicely, actually. The next plant I have here is my Dressina cane plant that I purchased from IKEA, and when I first purchased it, it only had one shoot growing out of the top there, and now, as you can see, there are two tall ones, and they're just growing. And looking at the roots, that's grown quite a lot since I picked it up. But this is another plant that doesn't give me much trouble. It's not much going on with it. Looking to see if maybe I might get another shoot, but yeah, look at those roots. So the next plant that I have here is my plant Stella, the snake plant, and I love Stella. Stella doesn't give me any trouble whatsoever. She's just been growing very well ever since I brought her home. I love to bottom water her. I find that she's more receptive that way, or it grows better that way. It helps me stay on top of its watering, and I only water it when its soil is completely dry. I find that the new leaves on Stella are growing a little bit smaller than usual, than it has grown in the past, and I'm just thinking that maybe I'm just moving it around a bit too much. I've had it at different spots, you know, recently, but we'll see what it does within the next few months. My next plant here is my Calissia elegans, and it's looking really sad. Like, I don't know, this plant is very fragile. I find very fragile, and if you miss the watering, it dries up from the roots up, and yeah, I just find that that's what I've been dealing with lately with this. I'm probably not going to keep this for much longer, but we'll see how it goes. So moving on, in the other corner of this wall here, I have a Ficus Burgundy and also a golden pothos that I keep right above it, hanging from the ceiling. Okay, now back to this ficus. When I first saw this plant in Home Depot, I fell in love. Now, of course, when I found it there, it had a lot more leaves than it does now. What you're looking at right now is approximately maybe 25% of the leaves that were on this plant when I first picked it up. So it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle, to say the least. I I had a hard time figuring this plant out at the beginning. The watering, I had to move it around a couple of times. At the beginning, it looked like it was doing just fine where I had it. I think I initially had it on this wall as well too, with under grow light, but yeah, it had about it had a lot more leaves than this, and now this is what we have, and it's growing back. So I think I've kind of figured out its watering schedule, or how it likes to be watered, and of course I have the grow lights as I mentioned, so that's helping as well. I also had to battle some thrips with this plant as well, and I seem to have it under control now. As I mentioned here, next plant here is my Marble Queen Pothos with several cuttings of the Golden Queen Pothos in there, and this plant doesn't give me much trouble either because of course it's a Pothos, but it's doing well. Moving on to the next section of my home now, which is the kitchen. So this is the overall setup and plant styling that I have going on. This glass here holds some propagations. Well, not so much that. It looks more like my cylindrical snake plant that I kind of killed after I took it apart and took out the babies to propagate. It failed really badly, and this is all that I have left of it. So it looks like about 4 leaves, but I'm looking to see if I could grow some roots on it, and it's not really doing much right now. Next, I have some cacti, a couple cacti that I picked up from Home Depot as well. The one on the right was bent, had a tall stalk like the one to the left, but when I picked it up, it was bent because it had fallen over, and it was just almost at like a right angle. But I brought it back home with me, and I ended up having to chop off that portion right there. But since I chopped it off, these 3 new stalks came up, and it seems to be doing well. Yeah, but basically these 2 had to battle some thrips. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on at the time. I don't know how they got there or what I was doing wrong, but I got that under control now. They just have some scars. Moving down the line, I have my J Jewel Dressina. That's doing very well. Another plant that doesn't give me much trouble. I let the soil dry out completely, and then I bottom watered this plant, and it seems to be very receptive of that method. But I just love the way it looks. I call it Sylvia because of the silver tinge in it. The next plant that I have here is my Dressina Florida Beauty, and it's another one that I love so much, but this one is growing slowly but surely. Same thing, I bottom water this plant, and it seems to love it as well. And these 2 plants I keep in the kitchen, and they are growing just fine. So these LED fluorescent lights are doing well. They work just as well as a natural light in my opinion. But I do keep them on. I do keep them on for most of the day, so that's probably another reason why. Now, sitting on top of my fridge, and the only plant that you'll see in this house tour that is fake will be this string of hearts, and I just like to have it there. It just adds a little bit more green to the room. The next room that we have is my dining room, and as soon as you walk into it, You see the plant on the table as well as some more plants on the plant shelf to the right. Sitting here on the table, I have Eve, which is my Silver Bay Aglaonema, one of my favorite plants and one of my oldest plants as well. And I can never ever get tired of this foliage. It's so beautiful, reminds me of a painting, and it's just beautiful. Like, look at it. Wow, that's just beautiful. But I love it. I've had it for a while now, a little over a year. And this plant I also let dry out, not completely actually, maybe a few inches down, and then I bottom water it, and it loves that as well. That leaf over there broke off after my son dropped it, but otherwise it's growing very nicely, and it has some new leaves coming out. There is one right there, and then there's another one behind it there. But I love it. It's so nice, and I hope it could get much more fuller than this. We'll just be patient with that. Next plant is this fiddle leaf fade that I purchased from Home Depot. It was actually on sale. I'm not sure what was wrong with it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. Now, it did lose some leaves, some of the lower leaves since I've picked it up, but it has grown a lot. A lot of those leaves right there are new leaves, and it's doing well thus far. Has a couple brown spots on, and that seems to be a bud there that should grow into more leaves or more stems. There's another one here, and then there's another one back there, but so far it looks like only one of them seems to be very active at this point in time. Moving on, we have my Scindapsus exotica, and I love this plant. Look at the leaves, it's just so beautiful. I love it, and it's growing so well. I did lose a couple of leaves while I was during my learning curve, but I seem to have it down now in terms of the watering. Because it's in a clay pot, I find I have to water it very often, but we're working on it. Next is this Tradescantia that is struggling so much. When I picked it up, I actually picked up two different ones, and I merged it into the one pot, but clearly I only have one stem living at this point in time, and I think I figured it out now, especially since I put it in the clay pot, but it's doing okay. This next plant here is my mistletoe cactus, which I also like as well. I wish I could have a house full of ripsalis. I just love how they hang, basically, but it's beautiful. I struggled with this plant as well too, especially with the watering. I put it in the clay pot a few months after I purchased it, and it went downhill. I lost a lot of its leaves, or whatever you want to call these things, but they kept dropping and dropping and dropping. I think they were drying out, and now I'm more on top of the watering, but I'm getting some growth. So it's growing back now, and I love it. Another potential to become a hanging plant is this. This one is actually an Easter cactus that I picked up from Home Depot. I picked up 3 of them. They were actually on sale, and another one that I'm struggling with, but it's growing. Here's the other one. So I put 2 in a pot for that big pot, and then this one only has the one plant that I picked out of the 3 that I picked up, and this one is doing worse than the other one, but I'm working on it. Next here is marble queen pothos that I'm propagating, and it's actually from like a cutting from one of my hanging pothos that I hang over my TV. Next we have my Monstera Adansonii. I'm failing so bad with this one, so bad. It seems to be getting better now. Again, it's an issue with the watering, and again, it's stemming from the fact that I have it in the clay pot. Yeah, it likes to be watered more frequently, obviously, because of the pot, but I'm just now starting to get a hang of it. So this next plant here is an orchid that I received as a gift from a co-worker when I left the company, and I'm taking care of it. And Faith, it's grown a couple new leaves since I last saw you. It hasn't flowered again yet, but it's doing well, so don't worry, I'm taking good care of it. And I'll keep you posted. I love these freckles on the leaves. It's so interesting to see. And its roots are growing quite nicely. This is a makeshift pot that I made created when I realized that I needed to switch out its pot, but I didn't have the correct pot to put it in, so I just thought I'd make it myself, and then when I get a chance to pick up a new one, then I'd be able to replace it at that point in time. But this one's working just fine for now. The next plant we have here is an OG, Sunny, my dragon plant, and it's doing so well. It's growing, and I don't have too much to say about that other than the fact that I love that it's still with me and it's still hanging on, and it's a great plant to have. I often, I mostly bottom water this plant as well too when the pot or of soil is fully or mostly dry, but it's doing well. The last plant we have at this table is another snake plant. Another Sansevieria. It has 3 stalks in it, and it's growing fine as well. I've lost a couple of its leaves. I think I might have missed a couple waterings, but you can't tell. It's looking good. The leaves, the newer leaves that are growing, especially in the far left stalk there, are growing a little small, but otherwise it's doing well. So that's the setup that I have here in my dining room. Next, moving on to the living room. I love the way my living room looks. It took a long time to get it to look this way, but the first plant that we have here is my Dressina Messengina, I believe it's called. And this plant, when I first purchased it, had 2 trunks in it, and now as you can tell, I only have 1. But this one is doing well. It has a new shoot, I guess, growing on the side of it here, so I think I'm doing something well. It's so cute. But yeah, look at the look of it from the bottom. Imagine being an ant or some kind of bug and just looking up and seeing all this beauty. But yeah. Oh, I really like the look of this plant, and it's doing well. It has some brown tips on some of the leaves, but I'm staying on top of it, at least the watering. Next up is my Ficus Burgundy, and it's doing well as well. The only issue that I have with this is that the leaves are growing in kind of small, and I'm not too sure what I'm doing wrong just yet. I just know that I've moved it around a few times, and I'm just trying to find the best spot for this. But I just love this rubber tree plant. Like, it's just beautiful. All of the types. So I have this burgundy one, and I have this Teneke. But this is the plants that I have on my windowsill, and they're doing well as well, loving the indirect bright light. So starting over here, so here is my Teneke, my Ficus Teneke, and it's also doing well. And I'm also having this issue with the small new leaf that's growing in, and I'm afraid about the next leaf that's gonna come up. I don't know why it's so small, but I'm trying to figure it out. Next is this Pothos Propagation that I was forced to make or create or put together because of my birds attacking my pothos, my hanging pothos once again. But it's doing well also. Oh, there's a down feather on a leaf, but yeah. Next up, I have this, I don't know what this cactus is called. I've just been calling it a pillar cactus, and it has a new shoot coming out on the side of it, but it's the cutest thing. When I picked it up, it was about maybe this tall, and it's grown so much since, and I can't wait to see what else it does. But if you have an idea of what this particular cactus is called, just drop me a comment in the bottom. Let me know what it's called, and I could read up a little further on it. I mean, thus far it looks like I'm doing something well with it, but I just want to know what it's called. Next is my bird's nest Sansevieria. One of two. The other one I killed. I think I overwatered it, but this one's doing well. I'm trying my best not to kill it, and it's growing well. The newer leaves are a little bit small, but I'm working on it. The next plant that I have here is my rescue plant, my rescue rubber tree plant, and it's grown a lot since I ordered it from a shop in Milton. But it's doing well. It's some of the newer leaves are a little bit small, but at least it's growing, and I'm actually interested to see how this plant is going to grow and progress. Next plant up is Ella, another OG plant that has struggled. We've gone through a lot, okay, and it's seen a lot of struggle, but you know, I'm not giving up on her. We're not giving up on each other. So she's here, she's doing well under the bird cage. Alright, so this is the setup that I have above my TV, or just behind my TV. I have these two hanging plants, pothos plants, and this one here is a golden pothos that is being attacked and being eaten by my budgies when I let them out from time to time. But it's hanging in there. I had to transplant some cuttings into it because, as I mentioned, it's being attacked. So I'm doing my best to keep up its appearance and have it grow some more stems and or some more vines. But I love the way this looks. Are my budgies, and then to the left of my budgies is this marble queen pothos going through somewhat of a similar situation as the other one. I like to switch the two plants from time to time so that they get a different environment of this window area here, but this plant is being less attacked. I don't know why the budgies mostly go for the one on the right hand side, but this is another one that I'm taking care of, looking to grow some more vines on it. But I love the way this looks right now. It's so beautiful. So here is just a preview of the way I've styled my living room from this angle over here. Now continuing on, just to the left of my TV, we have this snake plant and this dragon plant. Let's start with my dragon plant, Draco. When I picked up this plant, it had actually three trunks or three plants in its pot, and as you can tell now, it only has one. Struggle. It's actually it got mealybugs, or I'm thinking I actually brought it home from the store, or it came home with me that way from the store. But yeah, there was something going on and I lost two of the trunks, but this one is growing well. I've moved this plant several times as well, and for now I'm just looking to see if it'll work out there. To the left of this, I have my snake plant, Cobra. I picked this one up from Home Depot as well, and I think there's something going on with it because I've lost a couple or a few stalks or plant bunches with rotting roots, so I'm not too sure what's happening. I barely water it, and I think the soil, something's going on with the roots and the soil. Maybe it's retaining too much water, but I'm gonna have to do some surgery on that one soon. To the left of that, we have my bird of paradise and my Schefflera, and I love these two plants. They're so beautiful in so many ways. But this is the setup I have here right next to my lamp. I use that to supplement my lighting. So this bird of paradise is actually a white bird of paradise, and it's doing well thus far. I have issues with it in terms of pests. It seems to be very prone to getting thrips, and we're working on it. We're working on keeping it under control and managing it, but yeah, that's the main issue that I have with it, thrips. And yeah, so we're working on it, but I love it. I can't wait for this plant to grow so big. I want it to be with me forever, wherever I go. And we'll see what happens, but it does have these two new leaves coming in. So this one here, so nice, and then this one here in the back, and it's so cool. Look at the tip of that. Like, that's just the coolest thing ever. But that's my bird of paradise. Next is my Schefflera. This one is from IKEA, and when I brought this plant into my home, oh my gosh, it just took off. Like, basically the whole top of this plant is new. Like, look at this leaf, it's so beautiful. Look at that. And the leaves are so light and so they're so thin, but yet they're very strong, and it's very sturdy. And I have a whole bunch of new pups, I guess you want to call it, growing on the side here. I'm just gonna leave them alone for now, and maybe in the near future, maybe give it about 6 months to a year, I'm gonna try and grow roots on these and put them on in a separate pot. But it's so cool. Like, look at that. I have a small one right there growing, if you can see it. Yeah, so cool. Up there, right here. Yeah, so that's another one growing, but I have two pups growing so far, and tons of new leaves. It's just growing and taking off. I just love it. So we've made it to the end of my houseplants tour, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with me. And if you did make it this far into the video, please give me a big thumbs up, especially if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget to do so before you go, and turn on the notification bell as well so that you don't miss any more of my videos. All right, guys, have a good day. Take care. Peace and love. Have a great year.